Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Triathlon Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Gyl, and today we're diving into a topic that's super relevant to those of us coming off a busy summer of triathlons. That is how to prepare for a fall marathon. For many triathletes, including myself, transitioning from swim, bike, run to the single focus of marathon running can be a challenge. But with the right approach, you can turn that summer fitness into a great fall marathon performance. So let's get to it. After a summer full of triathlon racing, especially if you've done long distance events like halves or full Ironmans, your body's been through a lot. So the first step in preparing for a fall marathon is understanding how to transition smoothly. You've already built a strong endurance base, but it's time to shift gears. So, first and foremost is recovery. Post triathlon, your body needs time to heal. The temptation is to jump straight into marathon training, but taking a week or two to focus on active recovery can make all the difference in preventing injuries down the road. Light swimming, easy spins on the bike, and a few low intensity runs will help keep your fitness up while giving your muscles time to recover from the intensity of triathlon season. Once you've had a chance to recover, it's time to build that run specific fitness. This is where we shift focus. In triathlon, running is just one piece of the puzzle, but for a marathon, it's the main event. You'll want to obviously increase your running mileage gradually while reducing swim and bike sessions so that you can concentrate on your legs. I like to keep some cycling and swimming in my routine, but much less than during triathlon season. Cycling is a great way to maintain cardio fitness without the pounding of running, and swimming keeps your upper body and core strong while aiding in recovery. But your priority should now be running. Key workouts like long runs, tempo runs, and intervals are essential to build both endurance and speed. So let's break it down. Here's a typical week you might follow in the transition phase. So, first, a long run. That's your bread and butter workout, gradually increasing mileage up to your marathon goal distance. Although I will say, the more experience you get, you don't really have to go up to, I don't know, 20 to 23 miles. You can probably get away with 15 to 18 miles of your longest run for that cycle. So you'd start maybe from 8 miles and then gradually build up to 15 or 18. Next is a tempo run, a steady run at a challenging pace that pushes your aerobic threshold. Maybe you have one of those per week. And lastly are intervals. And I do think for someone who's intermediate or experienced in triathlon, intervals are probably the most important to make a real dent in your marathon time. So short, hard efforts to improve speed and leg turnover, followed by rest periods. This is where that triathlon speed work can really help. Now, one of the biggest challenges we face as triathletes moving into marathon training is managing fatigue. You've been racing all summer and your body has likely accumulated a lot of wear and tear. Marathon training isn't about grinding through more pain, it's about smart training. Listen to your body and adjust your plan if you're feeling overly fatigued or mentally drained. So, what I recommend is first, you've got to monitor your recovery closely. Tools like heart rate variability or simply tracking how you feel each morning can be a game changer in making sure you're not overtraining. If you see vast fluctuations in your heart rate, so one day it's kind of low and sluggish, the next day it's really high, up, down, and even during one session, your heart rate's a little sluggish, or it just shoots too high too fast, those are signs that you're overtraining. If that's the case, just dial back the intensity, especially in your early weeks of marathon preparation. While your endurance is solid, it doesn't mean that you're fully recovered from triathlon season. So always be prudent on how much intensity you're going to add and how quickly. Trust the process. Remember, you've already put in months of hard work during triathlon training. Now you're building on that base, not starting from scratch. Next, let's talk about nutrition. As triathletes, we're used to fueling across multiple disciplines, but marathon nutrition requires a different focus. You'll need to shift your fueling strategy towards sustaining long, continuous efforts on the run. Carbohydrates still reign supreme, but you won't need to worry about bike or swim nutrition for now. It also means when you're running, you can consistently fuel, unlike swimming. But at the same time, you can't eat like a fool like you would on the bike. So you are going to have, we can constantly take in fuel, but because we're now just running, pounding that pavement, all that up, down, need to be mindful what fueling choices we're going to use for running long. So during marathon preparation, I suggest carbo loading for your long runs, just like you would for a race. This gets your body used to using glycogen efficiently. At the same time, I hate that word loading. It just sounds like you're supposed to pack on starch, pack on starch. No, you just privilege a little bit more carbohydrate and quality carbohydrates over other food groups. That's all, just a little bit more. Hmm? During the run, you're going to practice, especially your training long runs, you're going to practice fueling using the same gels, chews, or drinks you plan to use on race day. And here you play with it. If one particular thing doesn't work for you, upsets your stomach, try something else. The key here is consistency and knowing what your stomach can handle during a prolonged effort without the transition breaks of triathlon. And hydration is just as important. Even though fall marathons can be cooler than summer races, you still need to stay on top of fluid intake. Adjust based on weather conditions, but never neglect hydration. Even if the cooler temperatures make you feel less thirsty, that doesn't mean you need less water. You need basically the same amount of water. So you still keep taking in fuel, you still keep taking in liquid fuel. All right. Now that you've transitioned your training and dialed in your nutrition, let's talk race strategy. The beauty of fall marathons is the cool weather, but it can also be a double-edged sword. Cooler conditions often make you feel stronger early on, which can lead to going out too fast. The key is to be disciplined with your pacing. Use the first half to find your rhythm and resist the urge to push early. Ideally, you want to negative split, meaning your second half is faster than your first. For triathletes, this can be tough since we're used to pushing in shorter, harder intervals, but patience is the name of the game in marathon running. So, a few tips: stick to the plan. Even when you're feeling fresh, trust your training and remember that the real race starts after mile 20. And visualize the finish. This is where your triathlon mental toughness comes in. When things get tough in the final miles, channel that same mindset you used during the last leg of the triathlon when the finish line is in sight. Preparing for a fall marathon after a summer of triathlon racing is all about smart transitions. You've already done the hard work building a strong endurance base. Now it's about tweaking your training, focusing on running, and making sure you recover properly. Whether this is your first marathon or you're looking to crush a PR, fall is the perfect season to take on the challenge. So, if you're gearing up for a fall marathon, I hope this episode has given you some helpful tips and insights. Take the time to rest, adapt your training, and most importantly, enjoy the process. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And let me know on social media which fall marathon you're preparing for. Good luck with with your training, you guys. And as always, keep pushing your limits. See you next time on the Triathlon Podcast. This is Coach Gyl. You have a great day. Happy running. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye.